Have you ever felt like you are doing all the things right, yet you still are fighting distractions, fighting self pressure, or that quiet sense of misalignment? I mean, you are successful on paper, successful business wise, ministry wise, even on platforms, but your peace feels scattered. Your focus is fragile. And no matter how much you achieve, there's something that still feels off. If what I'm sharing is speaking to your spirit so far, today, this episode is for you.
What's good, family? And welcome back to the Present Center Podcast. This is the space where spiritually minded, high-impact leaders learn to destroy distractions, align with God in the realm of heaven, and fortify their focus on their divine assignment here on earth. Now, here's your host, Christian F. Johnson.
Are you ready?
Then let's go! Family, listen, today I want to give you something both practical and spiritual, not just inspirational and informative, because look, what good is information without transformation that leads to dedication and then demonstration, right? This conversation is one that will help you build flow, divine rhythm, order, and divine alignment in every part of your life, your leadership, your business, your ministry, your walk with God and operating here on earth. So wherever you are listening from, take a moment, take a deep breath, look, center yourself, grab something to take notes with, because we are about to align in presence together. All right, let's start here. Distractions, they aren't always demonic, I'll say, right? But they can still be dangerous. So go with me. It doesn't always come to necessarily destroy your purpose. Sometimes it comes to divide your focus. The enemy doesn't have to stop you. He just has to scatter you. And so you can be gifted, you can be anointed, you can be brilliant, but if your focus is fractured, your fruit will be too. And so that's why this first pillar of the present centered path is called, we're dealing with the pillar of destroying distractions. And so it means that we're identifying what is pulling you away from your divine assignment. And so not every opportunity is your obligation. Not every open door is your direction or for you to walk through. And you must discern. Look, that is one of the most underrated gifts that we have been given by God, discernment. So you must discern what is productive versus what is presence led. And sometimes they can work together and sometimes they can distract you, right? That distraction can hide in the good things that aren't God things. And so it hides in busyness. It hides in comparison. It hides in so many other areas and helping, everyone else while you're neglecting your own assignment. And so when you destroy distractions, you reclaim dominion over your time, over your energy, over your attention. And that is crucially important. So let's look a little more closely into even the word distraction. All right. We have distraction, distraction. All right. I believe our assignment is to remove the disses in our lives. DIS. All right. The disses and that word distraction. Those patterns that keep us from divine traction and spirit-led action. So let me name a few of them for us. These common ones. We have disengaged, right? Where you're going through the motions, but you're not truly present with God, family, or yourself. You've been there. Excuse me. We have dis-ease, not just from physical sickness, but that inner unease that comes when your pace is out of alignment. We have discontent, when we're never satisfied, always chasing the next achievement or external validation or other things instead of really resting in God's sufficiency, right? We have disobedience, when we know what God has told us to do, but we delay it or we compromise it in a way, or we'll always do it tomorrow, or half obedience. It's still disobedience, right? And that breeds a distraction if we're not careful. We have that disconnection when you lose your lifeline, so to speak, to presence by neglecting by prayer and community and being in honest conversation. When you isolate yourself, right? Because the isolation can get louder than the area of intimacy, and we can find find ourselves in a place of distraction within there. And we got, things like disorder, disappointment, right? Disillusion, disqualified, all that. Let's go with that one, that disqualified mentality. I've been there, right? Where you're believing you're not worthy or equipped for the assignment. See, some of us can make a lot of prosperity, a lot of money, but not necessarily be in the thing that God called for us to go ahead and do. Right? Or we can be in the area of doing something because it's easy, but it's not necessarily come on, somebody, right? So you have to believe that if God equipped you and placed you in this place, he gave you that tug, that dream inside you, no matter how much you got in the bank account, no matter how much you're in this place, how much this is thriving, this business, 2, 3, 4 of them going over there. Do what God is cultivating for you to do and release in this earth so he can get glory and we can advance the kingdom together, right? Not the things that are causing you to stay stagnant or shrink back. But we can't stop at the DIS. You see, once we name it and release those things, we're left with the next part of the word, which is traction. And traction is about gaining that ground, that momentum that carries you forward into alignment with God. Yet, even in the area of traction, that's not the final destination. We remove that TR, and what remains is action. So let's put that picture together. That this keeps you stuck. That traction will build that momentum that leads you to that action that brings about that manifestation. So the distraction is anything that blocks you from moving in that divine action, the kind of flow from the alignment with your God-given assignment. And we need to be careful to deal with those distractions, right? So you can gain traction, so you can step into that spirit-led action and do and be all that you are called and cultivated to be, cooperating with God. Come on, somebody, put that in the comment section. Write that stuff down. That's life and that's power, right? So that's where you break free from the illusion of busyness or step into that rhythm of presence and power. And so you might be thinking, Christian, how do I actually do this? How do I destroy distractions in my leadership and life? And spiritually, I'd say, trust God. You see the shirt, right? Trust God. But practically, here's what I want to say that goes within this, that kind of stems from there, is we need to do the what, but leave the how to the way. You can write that down. Do the what, put it in the comment section, put it in your notes, but leave the how to the way. See, in John 14, 4-7, read it when you get time. Jesus comforts his disciples and he's telling them, look, not to surrender to fear, but he also says, look, I'm leaving in my father's house that are many mansions. Talk about all those things. And that's just not the area of when we talk about, we preach this in the area of funerals and stuff, right? But he's going away and I'm leaving this earthly area, right? And I'm going to give you the comforter, right? But, and I'm paraphrasing this, but he says something to the disciples that is powerful. He says, I'm leaving, but he says, you already know the way. And I find this unique because Thomas speaks up, right? Doubting Thomas speaks on up. And he says, look, I don't know where you're going. How can I know the way? And Jesus answers, I am the way. And let me give you the Christian F. Johnson version of this, right? In other words, you do the what. I'm equipping you here on earth with the what. I've given you the Holy Spirit that is within you, around you, amongst you. I'm leaving in this physical area of this form, right? But I, Jesus, leave you with the Christ that is within you. It will share with you and lead you into the what, but leave the how to the way, right? So your job is obedience, and his job, God's job, is the outcome. So here's the what. Let's move into this. Let's move into this a little bit, right? The what is the practice that helps you to destroy the distractions. And so within this present centered path, we call this, under destroying distractions, the r.i.n.s.e method, R.I.n.s.E, r.i.n.s method. All right. And so how this came about is how when I was a child, my mother would always say, when I had an irritation in my throat or something like that, a sore throat or something like that, she would say, get some warm salt water and I want you to go ahead and swish your mouth around with it and don't swallow it. I want you to go ahead and spit it, or to go ahead and release it. And so that became an acronym. But while I'm talking about that and I got this cup in my hand, I'm going to go take a drink of water. Now back to your regularly scheduled program. No. So anyway, this became an acronym for me, and it's a framework that we use for destroying distractions. All right. So get your pen, your paper, whatever it is that you're taking notes with, and get ready to write these down. So R is to recognize what's distracting you from your divine purpose. All right. In this day and time with all the earthly distractions, fear, who's in this house, that house, this government, this, there. I'm not getting into all the details of that stuff here because this is about being present centered. But recognize what's distracting you from there. Sometimes it can be the area of, for me, seasons, it was money, it was monetary things. I was going for, I'm gonna go to this target audience because they can afford my coaching program. I want to go ahead and speak to these people because they would pay for me to come out and speak for $10,000 for this particular situation. They would do this, and all that is good and great. Literally, it is. But I'm saying if that is the motive behind it, we got to recognize sometimes that can distract you from, that can be a good idea, but not necessarily a God idea. And I do not advocate broke, and I do not advocate lack. I'm just using that as an area of an example of things that I have personally had to deal with in this life as an entrepreneur, as in the area of ministry, as in the area of leading in a life that is what I believe is to be kingdom centered and focused for the king to get all the glory and honor, but also to operate in the area of abundance. So recognize what is distracting you from your divine purpose. That's the R.I. is to identify your authentic divine assignment. For me, guess what? You're getting it. It's to go ahead and help people to destroy distractions, align with God, fortify their focus. Not just people. Let's get specific. Where my heart posture is an area of high impact, spiritually minded leaders. Yes, we're successful. Yes, we're thriving. We're doing all these things on the outside, but the man and the brand sometimes are not in alignment. And I believe God has given me a chart through my own story, through my own lessons, through our own coaching and process, and through mentors and people that have spoken to my life and helped me to be who I am today, to help us identify our authentic assignment, recognize what's distracting us, and then the end is to neutralize those distractions with truth, and the truth will set you free. So let's not put a whole lot of feed into all the negativity. It amazes me how we can have so many things going right and powerful in our lives, but one distraction, one negativity, look, one comment in here that says you're this and this is wrong, or this is unbiblical, or what are you using this terminology, or all this other type of stuff. Look, everybody has the freedom and power to go ahead and click off something else, right? We have the freedom and power within us to neutralize those things with the truth. We don't have to allow the negativity or anything like that, to deter us, but we can neutralize it with the truth, right? What you feed will live, but what you starve will die. And so, speaking of the area of S, let's go into area of starve, right? What is misaligned and strengthen what is divine. That's our S. So whatever is misaligned, whatever is no longer serving you, you can wake up and get that new mercy every morning and say, look, I'm going to starve this. I'm not putting any attention. I'm not putting my space. I'm not dealing with that. I'm going to strengthen what is divine, and what is divine and what is aligned. That's what I'm operating from, as far as the S. And the E is to go ahead and execute from your divine center with that intention, that embodied action. As you've heard, God, I know what my assignment is. I've removed the distractions. I'm neutralizing the noise. I'm coming from a place where I know what to feed. I know what to strengthen. I know what to starve. Now I'm at a place where I'm going to go ahead and operate. Remember, I talked about this. What good is information without the area of transformation, a mindset of information, a heart posture of that transformation that hits within the mind and the heart posture. Then we go to the area where we do that dedication to this thing, but we need demonstration. That's to execute. Let's execute with that embodied action, not just from the intellect, from all of our being, cooperating with God as we move forward. This is how you clear the spiritual clutter and you remain and return to that level of clarity. So I want you to take a moment right here and breathe. I know I need to. I talk fast, y'all. That's why I love the fact that you can hit play. You probably don't need to hit 2 times when you listen to me talk, but pause and ask yourself, what of these DISs has been draining me lately? Where do I need to trust the way again? You can even throw in there. When I said in the do the what and leave the how to the way. What are these hows? I need to get the how out of here. What are these hows I need to release that are no longer serving me? Because like I've said before, awareness is the first step to a realignment. Obedience is the bridge to that peace. And so that's all I'm going to give you right now. And family, I pray that this episode helps you see that distractions aren't always loud. They can be often just very subtle. But you have the authority. You can put that in the comment section out of your mouth. I have the authority to destroy those distractions. I have the power. Come on, right? And so in our next episode, we're going to step into the second pillar when we're talking about aligning with God in the realm of heaven. All right, where we'll talk about how to walk in this divine flow instead of this earthly force with everything that's going on. All right, so if today's message it spoke to you, share it with another leader who is ready to live present centered. And I want to thank you again for allowing me to speak life into you today. And remember, there is nothing missing, nothing lacking, nothing broken within you. And it always is my prayer that good, great, and awesomeness will continue to flow to you and through you all day long. Until next time, stay present.